Well, you heard my colleague there talk about impact of the conflict on the Nigerians who have returned. Now, we're not only speaking to that this morning, we are also speaking to those whom we spoke with the other time, the impact on them as well. Dr. Olajumoke Koyejo joins us this morning. She's a consultant psychiatrist at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, here in our studio. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Impact. It's only imagined. It can only be imagined by those who do not have direct conversation or conflict or contact with the situation that these students have had. But can you give us an idea of what they could be going through now? First, speak to those who have arrived. What kind of impact has it had on them, or what kind of support we should be giving them?
Thank you very much for this. Well, war zone, war effects, on these students is a major life event. And it's something they've not prepared for, and they've never prepared for. And the question is, what's even a major life event? Don't let me just gloss over it. Environmental changes, they have some degree of psychological threats, behavioral change on people. They have a specific time of onset, but they don't know the end of it. That's a major life event. And this war actually falls into that. Another thing we should look at is that it's an ongoing assault on this, because they'll be watching television. They have some form of attachment to their school. They have some form of, they went there believing that, okay, they're going to have the best of education. Now they are back in Nigeria. There's nothing to do. So it's going to be a very great one for them. And all we should be doing now is how to walk them through.
Would you say we have taken the first step along that line?
Yeah. When there's a major life event, what happens? There will be emotional response with somatic accompaniments. Emotional response, like you said, rollercoaster of emotions. Sometimes they are sad, sometimes they are happy, sometimes, they have so much anxiety and panic. And that's the first, and that's what they're experiencing now. And the first thing is how to solve the problems, how to reduce the emotions on the part of the students. And the first thing is we've removed them from the site of the trauma, partly, because they'll still be watching television. They will still, that assault is still continuing while they're even in Nigeria. So we should walk them through it. We're going to unite them back to their loved ones. But the point is, how do we reduce the emotional impact on these students? Because major life events is a risk factor for psychiatric illness. And it's not just about reuniting them. It's not about telling them, you're fine now. That's not it. It's a big thing that we have to take seriously, and the Nigerian government and everybody else, all hands to be on deck on all of them, because they are at a major risk.
I imagine that there are different grades to major life events. Maybe losing a job or getting heartbreak can be a major life event for some people. But this is on another level entirely. The threat level of this one is perhaps more. People react to things differently. But you kept saying we need to walk them through this. We need to give them the support. Whose responsibility is it to do all of that? I want to imagine it's going to be a joint responsibility. But how should this happen?
Thank you very much. Well, responsibility of the government, the parents, and everybody really. Responsible media reporting. So it's not just about the government, it's about all of us helping the people walk through it. Like I said, they've gone through threats, they've gone through separation, they've gone through loss. Threats of life, they've gone through it. They've separation from their schools, and they've gone through loss of, they've lost. They always see, even buildings coming down is a great loss today. You can see. So it's not going to be. So they've gone through all forms of the three, and so it's going to have very high impact on them.
What kind of impact?
Psychological, emotional, and there'll be somatic. That means there'll be physical accompaniment, because those things will manifest in some physical forms. heightened emotions. You'd be shocked that some people's blood pressure would go up. They will have tachycardia, they'll be hearing their heartbeats. They would, they can't just control it. And our responses are different from each other. And we can't afford to just, once they get to Nigeria, we just leave them. That's when the work is just starting.
Should they be going through, I mean, some of them were evacuated, on Friday,
yes.
Saturday, Sunday, this is Monday. Should they be already going through some form of debriefing, counseling,
yes.
perhaps psychotherapy? What exactly should we be looking at?
Yeah, they should be going through debriefing, critical incident stress debriefing, because it's so important that we know that they've gone through so much, and they should just, in fact, the first thing is to do physical care and have a psychiatrist assess them.
Every single one of them?
All of them.
Okay, now that some of them will join their parents, will travel home and all of that, what kind of reception, what should be happening at home?
Yeah, it's of course, we solve the problem, we remove them from the site of the incidents. The emotion reducing, ventilation, we should allow them ventilate. We should not force them though. We should do a positive appraisal of the situation, of what has happened. Okay, these are the things that have happened. And a critical appraisal, the things you can change, you change, the things you can't change, you accept. And dispassionately move through it and, okay, what is the next thing to do? That's one aspect. The other aspect is to attain to their emotional needs. I would say they should be assessed by a psychiatrist, a medical doctor to do a full assessment, both physically and mentally, for these students.
You talked about the behavioral change the other time.
Yes.
How easy will it be for parents to understand that, seeing that they are young people, they are young men and young women, and who have natural, patterns of behavior before, and then all of a sudden things change at home?
Yeah.
What kind of things should parents look out for, and what should they do? Well,
some students would have abnormal coping strategies going to psychoactive substance use. Some students, so it's watching them. Behavioral change, like even withdrawal to self, isolation, could happen to any of the students. So it's not just about, okay, now you're home. It's about, like I said, assessing them and letting them start all sorts of professionals to start from form of counseling and therapy, psychotherapy on these students, because this is a routine I'm used to. Wake up, go to class, and I'm seeing that, okay, in 6 months' time I'll be a graduate. Now you don't even know when that would that hope of becoming a university graduate is coming. You don't know the end of the war, of this war, and it's a continuous assault, because they will keep watching the television, they will keep getting information about their schools, about their loved ones in Ukraine. So it's not just about the behavioral changes could just be numerous. Some people would, of course, some would go into some positive things, exercise and some other things. But watch out for substances in this patient. Watch out for people that have predisposing factor, risk of psychiatric illness. They might break down. They might go into depression, sadness, guilt, low self-esteem, all sorts of things could happen to them. And those that have the family history of psychosis, hallucinations, delusions could happen. Okay. So they really need to be monitored.
But we can't say the same for those who are still in Ukraine right now.
Wow. Eye of the storm. Well, it's about, they are still there. The threat is continuous on these students. And the type of assault on them is much higher than those are in Nigeria. So, of course, you can't start that now. What we should all go for is to take them away from that assault force. That's what is necessary for those ones. Of course, we should keep reassuring them, though, but that might not be effective yet. But for those that are in Nigeria, they should continuous, not just one session of debriefing. Continuous debriefing should go on next 6 months, because you don't know who would have post-traumatic stress disorder. Those that have previous history of psychiatric illness, who would break down. So they need so much psychological support at this point in time by experts, not I can do it person.
Colleague has a question for you.
Well, I'd like to focus a little more on the students who are still in Ukraine. I know that you already mentioned that they're in the eye of the storm, and it is true that they are. We spoke with Daniel earlier, who is a medical student there, trying to give us a state of mind of his own fellow students. He says naturally he's a calm person, that he's trying his best not to panic. I mean, the situation is enough for him to panic, but he's really doing his utmost. For those who are unable to, be as calm as Daniel is, what would you recommend to them? What would you say they can do to ensure that they keep calm?
Thank you very much. Well, for those that are still in Ukraine, we should keep reassuring them. That's the first thing. And they should do a critical appraisal of the situation. Now, you can't leave you can't leave the country yet. However, we should look at appraisal of, okay, what is it that I can do? Let me do it. Those things I can change, let me change. And those things I can't change, let me accept it and make the best use of what is happening to me. And this is not the time to go into substance use. This is not the time to get positive feedback, to look for those things that will reassure you. And like the Nigerian government is doing, trying to reassure everybody is working hard for you. So try to be in the midst of people that would encourage you, because that's the way to go. And maybe we can start online some form of reassurance for them online, so that it will help them. And counseling, it would really help them. At least they have access to their phones now. So it will really be of great help for the students right there, so that they can be on top of the situation to a large extent.
Their own situation is worsened by the fact that they have to wait. There's anything I know a lot of human beings hate, it is having to wait and not knowing for how long more you're waiting. I mean, they're waiting to be rescued. We understand the Nigerian government is trying to ensure that there's a safe corridor to take them through. As we spoke with them this morning, they said that there was supposed to be an evacuation this morning between 9 and 11. From what our respondent said, he said he has not seen signs of that just yet. And I imagine that a lot of students will be on the edge. That's more immediate in terms of, will I say, the anxiety. Will the bus come? Will it not come? How do we say that, we manage those expectations?
Well, giving them information would be reassuring to them of efforts everybody is making to get them out of the place, because that is what they need now. Giving them the right information that will be reassuring to all of them. Okay, we're working on it. This is what is happening. Not just keeping quiet. We really have to continue to give them the right information so that they will know, okay, everybody is working hard to get them out of this situation, and let's see what's next to do. Because that's what is important for them now. And like I said, critical appraisal of the situation will really be helpful for them too. So we can't just leave them there. Information is important for them. Reassuring information will really be of help at this point in time.
Well, we know that a large population of those who are in Ukraine are students, even before the war, and a lot of them who have come back are majorly students. While we give parents tips on things to look out for their words, because oftentimes we know that young people they like to tell their parents, I'm fine, look, don't bother about me. But I'm sure that parents will be looking out for signs to look out for, to know when their child will need counseling or is not handling this traumatic experience pretty well. And some of them you have already outlined. But for those who are parents themselves, because let's not forget that a number of them also were not students. They were people working perhaps in that area. Some of them have come back with children, little children. What particular tips would you be giving to them?
Thank you very much. Well, all of them should go for assessment. All of them should go for assessment, because from this assessment, professionals will know, okay, this person we just need counseling. This person would have to go through full therapy and the rest like that. So it's not about students only. All of them that came back, they've all gone through that major life event. They've seen it. So it's not about parents watching out. Of course, parents would watch out, but they also need, all of them should go and see professionals and be followed up appropriately.
Well, we can only thank you this morning for the perspectives you've given to this issue. Most of the time when we hear of these things, it's just, as my colleague said earlier, kinetic, non-kinetic. Who even understands some of these things many times? We have to thank you very much for conversing with us this morning. Dr. Olajumoke Koyejo is a consultant psychiatrist with the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much.